The boat, world's largest prison on water. The boat, the world's largest floating prison that is now docked in Long Island Sound in the Bronx. Do you know the most exciting part? It even has its own caged-in recreation yard with basketball hoops, making it virtually identical to a typical prison. The Vernon C. Bain Correctional Center is the largest prison ship in operation, according to Guinness World Records. The ship was built because there were too many prisoners in the 1980s, and it has changed over the years to hold different kinds of prisoners. It's a branch of Rikers Island. The boat opened in 1992 to accommodate the growing pretrial population at the height of mass incarceration. Even though the jail population is a fraction of what it was 30 years ago, it is still in use. With a plan in place to reduce NYC's jail population to 3,300 people by 2027 and to establish 4 borough-based facilities while closing all other NYC jails, the boat, like the Rikers Island jails, is set to close. A large group of advocates, faith leaders, service providers, and grassroots organizations, as well as the people who are most directly affected by incarceration, have all said that it is time to move forward with this plan. Your primary goals are to reduce incarceration, improve confinement conditions, and redistribute funds that have previously been used to run a brutal jail system. When people come to our courts, we must think differently about their rights. Perhaps the most important reason to close the boat, as well as the other 10 Rikers Island jails, is that they are designed to separate people from justice. A boat is analogous to an island in many ways. To get there, you must leave the solid ground, and once there, you are no longer a part of the mainland. At first, you had the impression it was just a holding facility, but they refused to tell you where you are going next. You could feel the boat rocking because you are all alone, with no human interaction. Because of their isolation, both the boat and Rikers effectively separate people from the courts and any chance of having their cases handled pretty. For good reason, almost every jail in the country is close to the courthouse. On court dates, like thousands of other people detained there, you had to get up at 4 a.m. to be bused to the borough where your case is. You may even think about how many millions of dollars would be squandered just on transportation. One way to eliminate this waste of time and money and reconnect people to due process is to have one jail in the Bronx that is far more accessible, rather than a makeshift floating jail and an island penal colony in the Long Island Sound. Another important link between Rikers and the boat is the general corruption and dysfunction that both foster by being out of sight and mind for the majority of New Yorkers. As New York City transitions to a smaller and less isolated jail system, we must ensure that the way DOC operates is also brought into the light. This begins with transparency, such as publishing disciplinary records for correction officers, and must be followed by accountability, such as disciplining officers who abuse their power and firing those in positions of leadership who do not hold their officers and staff accountable. The boat and Rikers are also notorious for their inability to meet the medical and mental health needs of those detained there. During detention, you may deal with a number of mental health issues, to which they respond by heavily medicating. The tragic death of Stephen Cadu on the boat in September reminds us that medical care remains inadequate. We require replacement facilities with more accessible and well-designed clinic areas and oversight to ensure detainees receive quality care. People who have been let down by our social safety net end up in both Rikers and the boat, where they are forced to live in conditions that no one should have to go through. It's past time to put them out of business.